TheHorsePlayerNow.com tag team of Joe Christofek and Brian W. Spencer joining you for another edition of the Arlington Video Blog, the penultimate edition. We've only got one weekend left after this, Spence. It is just about fall officially, and it's certainly feeling like it.
Which is always good news for me. You know how much I hate summer weather, and we're getting to this point near the end of the meet. We just finished our last quote-unquote big weekend of the meet with the Grade 3 pucker up, leading astray another talented team block homebred for Chris Block, scoring an impressive victory there, but several runners were not too far off of her, so it'll be very interesting to see where those talented sophomore fillies go in their next starts and through the end of their 2012 campaigns.
Yeah, well, you said off camera that Chris Block was looking at two different spots at Keeneland, one of those obviously being the QE2, which he's won in the past with Vicari, so it'll be interesting to see exactly where he goes there. And will this race be a strong race moving forward? It looked pretty good visually. It has been very strong in the past, but, how will these horses do moving forward? That's always one of the most interesting things to see about a race like the Pucker Up and several of the other stakes we've seen in recent weeks, including the two-year-old stakes we saw a couple of weeks ago. Spence, you mentioned that Leading Astray is an Illinois bred, another one of those for Chris Block that can compete in graded stakes company. We've got another Illinois bred race, but this one is restricted in the 5th on Saturday. It's 4 sprinters. Block has 2 in there in Hoodwinked, who's pretty good sprinting on Polly, and Sir Absolutely. And this race is named the Addison Cammack. And when I saw that, I had to email Dave Zenner and ask him, is this a horse? Is this a person? I had no familiarity whatsoever with Addison Cammack, so can you please shed some light?
Yeah, 2 hours ago, I would have pled the 5th and my own ignorance on that too. But thanks to Graham Ross's barn notes out of Arlington Park, I found out that he ran a very well-respected, successful transport business, well-liked on the backstretch. And if you get a chance to read those notes out of Arlington today, just very nice quotes about Addison from several prominent members of the backstretch.
And hats off to Director of Racing Chris Polson for naming the race in honor of Addison Cammack, who, as you mentioned, a hard worker and a friend of racing here in the Chicagoland area. The Josette didn't go, Spence. That was the female version of this race. So we've got a couple of fillies in here, including the morning line favorite, Third Chance, who's been batting around Illinois breds basically since she stepped onto the racetrack at age 2, but she hasn't been batting around the boys, at least just yet. She's 7-5 in this race despite taking on males. And what I like about her from her 2-year-old year to her 3-year-old year to this year is she is a speedball who has learned to rate.
And she's just really fast. She finishes with energy. She's won half of her 18 career starts. She's 6 for 10 on synthetic surfaces. And like you said, the fact that she's now able to rate, able to press the pace, and she's able to do it very relaxed, which is the big plus for her. And it looks like she's going to have some pace outside of her to really spy here. And Cisco Torres is going to have plenty of options with her, depending on how they all come out of the gate. If he wants to go for it, he can. If he wants to sit off the pace, he's going to have the opportunity to do that. She looks tough here.
Yeah, well, you've got Van Diemen, who we will call cheap speed, because obviously class-wise he doesn't belong in this race, but he does have early hoof. And then you've got Roaring Missile, who's as sharp as a tack right now, has been underrated for quite a long time. He ran a good second last out in an open company optional claimer behind a talented rival in China, and he's been in really, really good form of late, particularly on the poly track. Then on the inside, you've got Hoodwinked, who likes to hang in some of his races, probably doesn't win as often as you think he might would, or you think he might, shown as he comes up in the stretch and looks like he's going to run right by and then kind of just sits there in the stretch. But he's pocketed, he's got a little bit of tactical pace, and he's a threat in this race as well. So it's a 6-horse race. It's really a 4-horse race, tactically very good, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out from start to finish.
I agree. Roaring Missile paid $40 on the polytrack earlier, almost dropped a 21-1 bomb in the White Oak earlier this meet as well behind Captain Bullet Bob. And, Sir Absolutely talented, done nothing wrong through 2 races. This is definitely going to be a big class test for him. Won't really hold it against him if he comes up short here. Might still have some maturing to do with just those 2 starts under his belt. And then Hoodwinked, just going to hope they all go crazy up front and they start to come back at the 8th pole. That's got to be the plan. Save ground and hope for the best.
Visually, looking at him as a racehorse, Sir Absolutely is built like a tank. So we'll see. I mean, he's got talent. He definitely looks the part, but this will be an acid test for him. A very interesting first edition of the Addison Cammack. Race number 7, Spence, another interesting race on an 11 race Arlington program. This one at other than on grass, a rare distance of 1 mile and 3/16. A battle of wills, so to speak, with 11 runners going postward. Quite determination and great form. 2 wins, 2 seconds in his last 4 starts as he continues to climb up the class ladder.
Sure, and he's always been a type who's had a little bit of talent, landing shares against condition claiming company, off, or entry level allowance company. And I like that he finally sort of turned that corner earlier in the meet, rattling off those 2 wins against condition claimers. But he also proved that he fits at this level with a good second, a distant one at that, to a red hot control tower in his most recent race at this level. But the fact that he's already handled 1.125 miles this summer at least is a positive sign for trying this tricky 1.3/16 distance, because that extra 16th of a mile probably won't get to him in a way that you may expect that it will get to a couple others in here.
Voucher Victory Spence is 0 for 10 at Arlington. He's 0 for 7 in 2012, but he has 6 seconds over this turf course, and he's not one of those horses who hangs. He tries hard every time. He's got speed, maybe distance a question mark for him, but he may have a tactical advantage here.
Yeah, and he's got great pace. He can take the lead if he needs it, but he's also got a nice pressing gear. And you look at some of those company lines, I mean, in those last couple races, he exits that same race that Quiet Determination did. He wasn't beaten much by that guy. Looks like about a neck here. And then before that, he lost to the Pizza Man, and he pushed him to his limit by about a half length. And that guy just came back to win an Illinois Bred Stakes this last weekend. So Vouch for Victory, pretty underrated. Always seems to go postward at that 6, 7, 8, 9 to 1 range. But despite his winless record this year, he's been running some huge races.
He certainly has, and he certainly deserves a win. Spence, Chris Block has a two-headed coin in this race. He's got on the head side Montana Kid, and on the tail side Yankee Dealer. Heads, Montana Kid looked pretty good earlier in the meet, and he's been disappointing lately. Yankee Dealer was entered for a $25,000 claiming tag 2 starts back. He won that race, got a confidence boost, and then won a 2 other than last out. So we've got one horse who's been a disappointment, one horse who appears to be headed in the right direction. Both horses seem with their A games they have a chance here.
And I mean, I really liked Montana Kid earlier in the meet. One of those things that you and I talk about every now and then is, especially when Chris Block throws 2 in the same race, you want to look where his main guy, Eddie Perez, goes. Perez had been riding Montana Kid. Guess where he lands on? Guess who he lands on now? Now he goes outside to ride Yankee Dealer, which puts Cisco Torres on Lemonade Kid. Little musical chairs there, but you want to pay attention. Maybe that tells us that Yankee Dealer's the better of the 2 blocks right now.
Yeah, very, very good point. And he may be the bigger price of the 2 as well. Although Chicago handicappers are very sharp, and they tend to look at the same kind of things you and I do, especially when they watch videos like this. A great 11 race program at Arlington Park on Saturday, highlighted by the Addison Cammack Stakes. Just one more week in the Arlington season, so make a couple of more visits, because you're not going to get a chance after the final week of September. For Brian W. Spencer, I'm Joe Christopher. Enjoy the weekend and best of luck.